Dang, this is how we're starting off the game? Okay, let me at this boss. Let me at her. Let me smack her Genshin with some impact. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I gotta choose my character. Well, not gonna lie, that's how you get me invested in your game. So Genshin Impact just released recently, and I'm about 3 hours or so into the game. And to be honest, I like a lot of what I see, and feel that Genshin Impact has some real potential here. It is clearly heavily inspired by Breath of the Wild, as many people drawing comparisons between the two have already noticed. There's a stamina gauge as you sprint around the world, and you can increase that stamina gauge by offering a Homunculi to what, by all rights, is a goddess statue. There's a glider that you can unlock to fly around the world, updrafts you can use to your advantage, the ability to climb up any wall, statues that open up different parts of the map, a cooking mechanic, and even enemy camps that you can happen upon as you explore the world of Genshin Impact. Kill all the enemies within the vicinity of the camp, and you can then unlock the enemy camp chest. There's even this little scene here that they threw in the beginning of the game, almost like a homage to Breath of the Wild. I could go on and on and on about all the similarities between the two games, but honestly, these aren't bad mechanics to have in a video game by any means, even if they are taken from Breath of the Wild and put in Genshin Impact. In fact, I prefer it. Breath of the Wild had great game design, and because Genshin Impact decided to have a similar formula, by extension, so does Genshin Impact. That's not to say the two games play the same though. Genshin Impact is a very different game from Breath of the Wild, even if there are many similarities within its mechanics. If I were to compare Genshin Impact as a whole to something, I would honestly say it's way more similar to Ni no Kuni 2 than it is to Breath of the Wild. But enough about that. Let's get into what makes Genshin Impact a must-try experience in its own right. The music? I love it. It really helps me get immersed in exploring its world or getting me amped up before a monster battle. That's one aspect where Genshin Impact absolutely kills Breath of the Wild, as the music in Breath of the Wild was the worst thing about it. Combat in Genshin Impact can be pretty satisfying. Different elements can be combined to wreak havoc on your enemies. For instance, fire can be combined with wind to create a fire swirling attack that explodes at the end, sending your enemies flying in 20 different directions. If you wet your opponents, then cast a freezing spell, they turn into ice and you can just wham on them for extra damage. If they're standing in water and you electrocute them, they stand in place for a bit, unable to move, going You can light grass on fire, and if your enemies stand in it long enough, they'll get a burned condition. Outside of all the environmental and elemental combinations in combat, you can also switch characters seamlessly while in battle Final Fantasy X style, and hit them with that. Each character uses a different weapon unique to them as well. A bow, a spellbook, a one-handed sword, or at least, those are the only weapon types I've experienced so far. I'm sure there's other weapons you can experiment with once you recruit more characters to your party. Honestly, my biggest complaint about the combat and game in general so far is that it's far too easy. I barely felt the need to heal in pretty much any enemy encounter, and the only real challenge I faced were the time-based challenges that forced me to kill the enemy based off of a timer, rather than the enemies posing any danger to myself. I hope it may just be because I'm in the beginning stages of the game, but the lack of challenge really began to weigh on me toward the end of my 3 hours of playtime. On a positive note though, all the cutscenes are voice acted, and the voice acting's pretty decent.
Oh, are you sweeties here to help us out?
Paimon actually made me laugh at one point as I was running through a dungeon. The cutscenes are also very, very well animated if you couldn't already tell from the intro cutscene. Check this one out though, this was awesome. Did you see that, Ish? It's like I'm watching a high-budget anime. That's another thing. I really love the art style of Genshin Impact. The anime art style really fits with the aesthetic of the environments, and all the spells and attacks flow really well together. The story is decently compelling as well. Not groundbreaking by any means, but somewhat compelling at a minimum. The story does seem to be locked behind something called your Adventurer level, and after finishing the prologue at Adventurer level 7, I was told the next part would be unlocked at level 10. Yikes. Now here's where some problems do start to creep in. Genshin Impact is a free-to-play game after all, and it's gotta make its money somewhere. There are plenty of ways to level your Adventurer level by exploring the environment, opening chests, completing quests, and finishing certain tasks, but I did feel that for all I was doing, my Adventurer level wasn't going up all that quickly. And I am sure there's a way to make that go by a little faster if you cough up some of that good old green stuff. From the very basic crafting I did, I also saw that there were only 2 items that I could actively craft in the crafting queue at any one time. The items I was crafting didn't take much time to complete, but I could see later in the game, some items could take 24 hours or even longer, and they could just take up space in the crafting queue. That could make you want to speed things up, or increase the amount of spaces in your crafting queue so that you can make the crafting go by quicker. In other words, you exchange your money for your time. Now, from what I've seen so far, you can probably get by without having to spend a cent, but it's very clear that if you're willing to spend money, you'll get farther quicker. And I think that's something that you have to understand if you're willing to play this game for an extended period of time. I've heard that there is a multiplayer aspect to Genshin Impact, but I wasn't able to get there in time before making this video. I would like to try it out for myself though, so if this video gets 100 likes, I'll make a part 2 to this and try to experience some of the multiplayer aspects of the game. Overall, it was surprisingly good for a free-to-play game, and although it's heavily inspired by Breath of the Wild, I think there's a lot of potential here for Genshin Impact to be a great game in its own right. And hey, if you're on the fence about playing it, it's free to play, so I see no reason to at least give the game a shot and see if you like playing it for yourself. Regardless, those were just my own thoughts on Genshin Impact. What did you all think of Genshin Impact so far? Are you willing to give it a try after seeing this video if you were on the fence, or have I dissuaded you from playing instead? Let me know what you all think down in the comments below, guys, and don't forget to like the video if you're trying to see a part 2 on this. And finally, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for all the content that you don't want to miss out on in the future. Or Genshin Impact is about to be some garbage impact. I'm sorry guys, I had to do it.